Welcome to another episode of me reviewing your works. If you are new to the channel, you might not know, but I'm reviewing your works time to time, and I call it the review series. But the last time I recorded was, I think, almost a year ago. It was end of last year. So even if you are not new to the channel, maybe you already forgot about it, but we are back. You might have a couple of questions about it, so let me answer them first. First one is, how can you send your works to me? The answer is through email, bertmydesign@gmail.com. Second question might be, how do I select those designs? It's kind of random. There's no rule. Like, I don't decide, if you are the best or if you do the sketch or if you do Blender, doesn't matter. It's kind of connected to number 3, which is I recommend you to watch the previous episodes because I don't want to repeat the same feedback for different works all the time in each episode. Which means I select your designs also, or your works, depends on similarity to previous feedbacks as well. Of course, I repeat some basics, some essentials because it's important things to remember, but I try to decide variety of the work here, let's put it this way. And the number 3, if you come back to this, I highly recommend you to work the previous episodes because even if I don't pick your design, it's very good opportunity to learn from others' mistakes and other feedbacks that I give, because the mistakes are more common than you think. So you can learn your own mistakes by watching others, or also you can avoid these mistakes by watching these other feedbacks. And the last thing I want to mention before we jump into the episode is there's Black Friday discount right now on all my courses. It is valid until the end of November, which is in 2 days. So if you are serious about car design, if you want to get to the next level, if you were looking for my courses for a while, this is the right moment. And for total clarity, I do 2 times a year discount. The one is Black Friday right now, and the second one is 30th of May, which is my birthday. So other than this, there's no discount. That's why I recommend you to take opportunity. All the courses are getting updates time to time. For example, now I'm working on the sketching course, and all these future updates will be free, of course, and you will have lifetime access to all of them. So I really hope to see you in the courses. And now let's jump into the reviews. All right, the first one is Ashish. I hope that's how to pronounce your name. And a little tip for everyone, if you want to send your works to someone to get feedback or for applying a job or internship, whatever, if you contact to someone, I highly recommend to pay a bit more attention to your writing in general, not only for you, Ashish, or maybe Ashish, but in general. You wrote my name as Kalpan, so it already to me it's fine, but it might be really unprofessional and you might even lose opportunity to introduce your work to some people. So be careful about that. I've been following your YouTube channel and really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm happy that you mentioned your name and where you are from, and thank you for the nice email. But in general, to everyone, when you send your works, please also mention a bit more about yourself. Like if you are studying design, how old are you? And this kind of little brief information would help me to understand better your level. All right, I'm gonna use this one to give you a review. It is a nice work. I can see your passion for supercars and for the racing. And I see a couple of different brands kind of merged together here. Like we have the Lexus on the front, but we have kind of like Lamborghini lines, some maybe generic details or like Bugatti detail in that case. So for the design wise, I would like you to be a bit more focusing on maybe one brand and try to analyze this brand, how they would do this supercar. If it's Lexus, it would be maybe a little bit different. If it's Lambo, it would be different. So don't try to put everything you like into one sketch. You can do more than one sketch and each can be for different brand. For the sketch itself, I'm gonna flip the canvas, I'm gonna mirror it to see better maybe your mistakes. And in real life, you can do it by flipping the paper and putting on the light so you can see it from the mirrored version. And this helps you to understand or see better some of the mistakes. Like when I do this, let me make it a bit less opacity and I can sketch over. Let's talk about perspective. It's the first thing comes to my eyes, because rather than design, I will give you more sketching tips on this example. Like I see that, for example, here we have a line going this way, right? The perspective line. Another one here is kind of like that. So it's until here kind of following parallel line, but when we come to the front of the car, it starts to be opening, and this is something we definitely don't want. It can be parallel or it can be getting closer to each other on the farther edge, but this is basically wrong in perspective. So I would fix the front in that case, because also the overall angle of the car gives me the impression that it would be better if I push these up, these lines. And when you put these lines like this, the perspective line for drawing the wheels on the correct angle, like yours is this way, what we want is we will use this as the small axis, and if you draw a 90-degree angle, it will be the longer axis. So your wheel will be a little bit tilted this direction. The same thing on the back. If these are my lines, I will doing the same. And I'm also making them a bit bigger, if you realize, because proportion wise, I would like to fit in between more or less like 3 wheels in that kind of car, which means if I draw the same size of the front wheel, 1, 2, more or less 3, and then it fits better now. On the original sketch, because of the wheels are smaller, let's say like that, it is more than 3, and it looks a bit too long wheelbase. So what does it mean moving these lines is all your graphics would also follow now this new perspective. Like if my headlight is here, it's not here anymore because it's on top of this breaking point. So it will be on this way. It is getting a bit messy here, but we can do also the cleaner version. So I just put your sketch here on the top. I can also remove my sketching lines. Let's flip the canvas to the original. And I'm gonna sketch again to show you how I would approach, because rather than fixing sometimes, especially your own sketch, it's better to start from zero, step by step, to understand how I would approach. It's a better way to learn than trying to fix the existing one, because it also helps you to practice more. You sketch more and more. So doing 10 different sketches will help you more than trying to make one sketch in a perfect way. So try to put as much as volume you can to your practices. So first thing I would start, like on your sketch, I'm trying to do similar angle here. And we said the perspective angles are like this, perspective lines. So this will be the ground that I'm putting the car on. First thing is the wheels, we said. Following this 90-degree rule, 1, 2, 3, and the second one can be somewhere here. And at this stage, when I'm sketching, I would focus on the volumes. In your case, this volume here, for example, is too small. And then I don't know where it goes. Is it flat here? Or is it actually, when I see here, I see like a curvature, like a peak point. So this peak point, if it's here, it would be a bit more like that. So this line you draw maybe should be here. So it also depends on your design, of course, but we need to understand the volumes. The same thing on the back. What's happening in this area? Is it like this type of section? Or maybe it is this type of section, but here something else happening. I'm not sure. I don't understand properly because I don't read the sections. So I recommend you to not use the markers at the moment and focus on the line work, get familiar with the pen better, like control it better, and try to understand the perspective and the proportions instead of coloring your sketches now. So I would go like this, putting my sections, and also on the back, I'm just putting a volume, this is like to represent a volume here. And then we can already do the same you did here, like to understand the silhouette of the car. It looks like this, so I can put it as a reference for now. I'm not getting into details of it. Let's extend the front a bit like that. And on the front here, we have this, the Lexus graphic. It is a tricky one, honestly, because when you add an angle to a very already angular graphic and see it in 3D, it is a tricky thing to understand. So let's put it this way. So you need to think also about how it would look from different angles. If you have a Hot Wheels or any scale model, you can rotate to see each angle, how the graphics are getting affected. Or you can look at the existing photos of this kind of cars to take reference. How does this front grille look from different angles? Because at some certain point, you will not even see the further edge of it. So it's better to analyze existing versions. So here will be the bottom part of it. Here I will put my headlights. And thinking about the volume again. In my case, the volume is cutting to the headlight like this. And now I will think about what's happening on the side. Again, the design really depends on your ideas, so I'm not focusing on it too much, but I see what's happening. Like there's a line coming and creating a form here. So I will do it this way. I will make it a bit more simplistic. So my shoulder line is coming to the end here and creating a sort of air outlet. And then on this volume, because the surface is going up here, now I will put the surface a little bit inside, like the Lamborghini, which actually I just said at the beginning, don't mix the brands, but it's not only about the brand image, brand surface language here. I'm talking about the volume there as an example. And then it will go up again to create the cabin area. And then the further edge of this greenhouse. So now I'm changing the section line, the Y0 line, the center line of the car. It was continuous at the beginning, now not anymore. And here I'm dividing my windshield. And here we go. This sketch already, let me bring back the original. This one here on bottom is already better on the perspective and the proportions compared to yours. Even if I didn't add any colors, any details, it is a better direction to go. Let's check it by flipping the canvas. And again, I see also some mistakes on my sketch, which is fine. What I mean is like this line, I think the wheel should be a little bit more rotated. And this one is a little bit too small, so I would also increase it a little bit more. Here we go. After that, I would probably put another paper on top of my sketch because now the proportions are and the perspective are more correct. So I would put another paper, or in digital, I would just create a new canvas, new layer on top, lower the opacity so I can see it, but now I can start designing on top of it. Now you can create alternatives and develop your design further. Okay, I'm planning to make 6 reviews in total in this video, but with this speed, it will not be possible. So I will speed up a little bit for the next ones. If you watched until here, you realize that it's not that easy to give this type of feedback on an Instagram message or on an email. So if you send me your works through different platforms and I didn't answer you, I'm sorry for that, but it's really not easy. That's why I recorded my courses, to put all my knowledge and experience for step-by-step guiding you directly through the video classes. And that's why I want to remind you one more time the Black Friday discount. If you are serious, if you're interested in, don't forget to check out my website in 2 days to not miss the discount. All right, the next one is some dude. As I mentioned, if you tell me your name and some information, it would be better, but such a nice email. I'm happy that you learned from the course, you enjoyed that. It motivates me to more for doing my courses and my videos. And the results are also pretty cool. For example, on this angle, I really like, let me get a brush. I really like to see this air intakes on the side, on the back from this angle. I also like this type of angles on my renders. It shows the aggressive big hips, big shoulders of the car on the back while seeing the front face. It's pretty cool. And for the feedback, the first thing I would say directly on this render is the choice of color and the material of the car. I would go with more metallic to show the surfaces and the volume in a better way. Like here, I don't see the section. I see the silhouette of this surface, so I understand it's a surface like this probably, but here it's positive. So what happens in between, I don't see it well. Or here I see that there's an air outlet, but it's not very much visible, and also the surfaces are not much readable. So I would say for maybe realistic renders or for different reasons, of course you might select a glossy color like this, but for a design review, design feedback, it's better to show the volumes and the surfaces, everything in the best possible way so that other person can give a better feedback. And from the side view, the same thing I can say because I cannot read what's happening around on different areas. But for the design itself, I think the wheelbase is way too much. I would make the car a little bit shorter. Let's do it. I will just pick until this air intake. I can just move it a little bit forward and then bring back your greenhouse. So already this, let me clean this area a little bit. So already that to me gives me like a bit more balanced proportions of the car. This is way too long. It might be like a hyper race car type of package. I don't know if you used any technical package or a reference on the project, but to me it doesn't fit to your car, especially like all these surfaces, more like a regular supercar, road legal car surfaces, and then getting into this long wheelbase. To me, it doesn't fit. That's why I changed the proportion. But if there's a technical package on back behind it. Maybe there are some other visual tricks that you can change these proportions. For a solid body like that, this wheelbase to me doesn't fit. Another thing is the A-pillar and the silhouette of the car. If you look at the windshield area from top view, it would be like this with a curve, and then the A-pillars go like that. So in that case, we see more of the, like from the side view, if you look at it, you would see more from the windshield compared to the A-pillar, and the angle would be different. In your case, they look too much parallel to me. So I would push the A-pillar a little bit more tension to the front. It's another thing actually. Let me show you here. In your case, there is no proper tension on the A-pillar, on the greenhouse. I would put, actually, when I look at this, it even looks like the car is going this direction. You see the tension is too much here. So I would do the opposite. The tension would be on the front, like that. So I would move it up here. And in your case, it would give me more a greenhouse like that. So let's change it also quickly with graphics. Of course, the design of it, you can change. You can do maybe something like that or however you want. But for the tension point, for the visibility also, for many reasons, I would recommend you to go into this way. And then the A-pillar also can follow the greenhouse, but the silhouette, as you see, is a more relaxed angle. This is going sharp down, this is going more relaxed. So this way I can see from the front, from the top view, this change also on the side. Another thing for the design is you might need some more refinement. Like here we have kind of flat, becomes a curve, and then here very soft curve we have. So like we have flat, we have almost flat, we have very soft curve, we have more tension curve happening. Okay, this sharp one happens also because of the surface, it is fine. But here also I have a small radius, then going flat. But if I look at this graphic, it's totally soft like a C shape. So things are speaking different language. Also here, like this greenhouse is like very slow curve and then getting faster, and here something else is happening. And this doesn't fit to each other. So I would recommend you to try to be more continuous with the design language. I mean, I think it's coherent in English to have the same language around different details or the overall the car. And when you already change the wheelbase and like already from this to this, now probably you would change the design as well. Like I also did here a very sharp cut, which doesn't fit maybe to the rest of the car. This air intake now maybe in a different form. So things can be developed further. Also because of this color, as I said, we don't read the volumes. So the car looks a little bit flat. But if we add some shadows, for example, here on the rear shoulder that I really liked from the other render, if I bring it back, so now I read the volume here. Same thing on the front. We have a volume here. So now already the car feels different when you put a different material. And this would also maybe shape the visual balance between the air intake and the body and so on. Okay, as I said, I will not go into super details for every review. Thank you for sending your work, and let's jump into the next one. Next one is Ethan Williams, 14 years old from England. Thank you, that's what I mean. Your name, your age, where are you from, so I can have a picture about your current level or background. I don't expect you to see or reply. Honestly, it really depends. I don't see all of them definitely, but lucky one this time. Let's give you some feedback. First of all, to understand your work, your sketch better, it's better to take photo directly from top, like scanning your sketch, rather than with an angle, because it changes the perspective, proportions, everything. Let's put a new layer on top to lower the opacity. First thing is definitely the car is way too long than it should be. I would say for beginners, generally focus on 3 wheels in between front and the rear one. So if this is your first wheel, and if I just put one more time and couple more, you can see, let's put the last one here, you have 1, 2, 3, 3.5 in between. Make the wheelbase shorter, just like the previous one actually. So let's do that. I will pick everything here and push them a little bit closer like that. Maybe not the cabin, so we can keep it still on the back. And let me clean this. So now we have a better wheelbase, but still the volumes are too thin now. Also because we are looking at the page from different angle, as I said, it affects maybe, but let's do some adjustments. The volumes, like we need some sort of volumes around the car, like physical volume. So I just make it a bit bigger. Let's make the wheels also a bit darker and filling the wheelhouse, sorry. And while doing this, the next thing is here, these three of them looks like you would do 4 spokes. So if you want to make 5 spokes, the angle should be a little bit smaller here. So 1, 2, and then the same angle should be in between them all. Easier way to draw it would be like after putting one, okay, the second one generally I do it by getting used to it and by drawing a lot, by putting too much volume on your sketches. What I mean by volume is volume of the sketches, amount of the sketches. If you do a lot of them, you will definitely get used to this angle, like 1, 2, and then it's easy. If you manage this first, the other one should be in between these two, and then the next one can be like between these two, but on the other side, and the next one can be between these two, but on the other side. It's not perfect, but it is better 5-spoke. So I was talking about the volumes. You can also put another wheel here and then cut it in half, and this would be the height of your car. So I would increase this top point of the roof and then putting the seat, the steering wheel as you put, it's nice. The next thing, by the perspective, we would see the other wheels a little bit as well. So if the first wheel is here, on the other side front wheel and the other side rear wheel, sorry, the front wheel and the rear wheel. And then if I'm putting the ground, I would also put from this other side wheels, and in between it would be the darkness. So it would be the shadow. So the car wouldn't be flying in the air. We would have some shadow to the car. This is important because it changes the perception of the stance of the car. Another thing would be also underneath here, we would add some thickness to catch some more shadow, also to separate the car from the ground. And if you realized, I already like this is totally flat. You even use the squared paper to make it flat, but we have like an approach angle. So a little bit up here. So when you are going uphill or if there is like an obstacle on the ground, this helps the car to go over it. And the same thing on the back, rather than flat, we can go with an angle. So this is also for the same reason we need the rear approach angle. So let's see before and after already. This was before, way too long car. This is after, shorter, more balanced, and also now the car is sitting on the ground. For these basics, definitely my beginner sketching course is for you. So if you want to get more confident with the perspective proportions, as I said, the course is getting an update soon and there's a Black Friday discount. Thank you for sending your work. All right, the next one is Ilas from Switzerland and 13 years old. Here is the sketch. Thank you for sending it. Let's rotate it. I really like how dynamic the sketch already. I don't know if you use the reference or if you took a look at some other sketches from professionals, but the sketch gives this dynamism. I quite like that part, but we can adjust it further. Okay, I just decreased the opacity and let's flip the canvas. As I said on the previous review, you can do it in real life by flipping the page. And honestly, I'm gonna rotate the sketch a little bit like that to get better understanding and even cut these edges to not confuse. Okay, so now I can see better. The front wheel is a little bit too exaggerated. And for the perspective, I again would put it a little bit this way. So the front could be also following this perspective more rather than this one that you have. So if I already start putting the grill you had, it would look more like this. And then the wheel, like, do you feel how squeezed is your headlight and everything here? Because the wheel is way too big. We don't have enough volume or space for fitting other elements. So by using this perspective lines, I would do the wheel. I need to test. I'm doing the first one like that. So I can give more space to my headlights and other intake here. And for the volume of the front muzzle as well. So after that, I can also have this type of volume on the other side. And this already gives me a little bit of problem with my perspective because this grill I put looks like very flat. If I see it from the top view, it will be flat like this. but this car feels more rotating to me, like a little bit more curvy. All the cars have some curve here, and this one also is not an exception. And the perspective looks a bit more exaggerated. I will not get into super details of it, but depends on the camera lens you use. It would look even more roundy or it would look more flat. I will give more examples on this on my course, but here I don't want to get into details. Basically, what I'm trying to explain here is we would have some curve here, and we wouldn't see it flat, this grill, so it would be more like this, like adjusted to the surface. So the section line here can still continue that way, and I will clean this previous line. And here this air intake will be also following. Here we go. So this already, as you see, gives more realistic, more correct perspective. And the headlight would be somewhere here. So this would be my headlight area following the perspective line again. And then the rest is honestly not that bad at all. So I can just make it a little bit more volume on the cabin. And then here also I feel a bit squeezed. So you can put the volume first, maybe something like that, to give it more balanced, nice volume. And then you can put the rear wheel. And the last thing I would like to tell you is for the rims, this is very abstract. Maybe it is the reflections, maybe it's showing the curviness of like a full dish type of rims. I'm not sure, but it's better to put some sort of spokes to your rims. So I can do, like on the perspective, I would do the simplest. Let's go with the simplest way. On the side view, for example, if I have 6 spokes like this, when I get it into more perspective, it would be more squeezed, but still 6 spokes. And if I want to add some depth to this, I would pull this main, like the center line, center point inside. So it would be now like 1, 2. These dots don't change. I mean, these locations don't change. So it would be normally like this. So I can keep this and that. And to the center point. This would be here to the center point. So as you see, this is the side view. This is more perspective view. And from this to this, I'm adding a depth. So we can do the same here. You can put a center one and then 1, 2. You can even do 4. Even if it's 6 is confusing, you can do 4. And then add also every in between. So it would be 8 spoke wheel. Like the center one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This would be the most basic way of putting some depth. And then I can put another, like a circle, another ellipse inside to increase this depth feeling even more. So let's see the before after. This is before, this is after. Let's see from the flipped version again. Well, actually, even on my sketch, I see it's still not that correct, especially this area, because we would have like a greenhouse like this, and then the windshield needs more volume as well. So now it is definitely more correct. Still can be adjusted further, but compared to before, it is already way better. So I would say step by step with practice and seeing the references, it will get better. But as I said, I like and appreciate the bravery that you put this dynamic perspective. It is not that easy to handle. Thank you for sending your work. Let's jump into the next one. Hi Berk, hope you're well. My name is Malcolm, 28 years old, living in Australia. Thank you very much for sending your work and for the information about yourself. And by the way, this email was from February 2. As I said, I'm really not that active on this review videos, but it's nice to catch up. Sorry for being that late. And you sent multiple works, and I'm gonna pick this one to focus on the sketch because Viscom also changed. You use some AI and Photoshop, but also your input to Viscom affects the results. So I think we can focus on the input and the essentials. So I'm gonna pick this sketch. And my comment is, by the way, I guess it is from my templates from the course because I prepared the templates for different segments of the cars. 2 of them are very small. There you can focus on the general idea, and the small sketch and the big sketch are different feelings. You have less details on the small sketches, so it's important to add variety to your work. That's why I prepared the templates that way. And I'm gonna focus on this one, the bigger one. The proportions looks cool, honestly. It's like a very nice coupe. And I like this exposed wheels idea here. And cutting this wheel, the rear wheel, covering it a little bit with a continuous line, it gives a little bit of this retro feeling. So I pretty much like the idea here. I see the potential of it, but for the sketch itself, it is way too crowded, way too dark. I think you don't need this type of shading. And on all the sketches, the lines are generally the same thickness. So I would recommend to add some line thickness, the line weight for different areas. Let me show you what I mean. So if I were to sketch the same one, let's put the wheel first. And I'm keeping my lines very, very light. I don't start immediately with thick lines. Also the pressure, I don't put a lot of pressure to my lines and I don't limit myself. It is very important. Like if you put this line, you don't need to be focusing too much to make it perfect. Instead, you can make like, you see how relaxed it is? You can try to be more relaxed and by practice you will get there. But rather than making very sharp lines, like start from the middle of it, extend it slowly, keep the same line, and this way it will be definitely more like dynamic lines as well. That's what I'm doing here. I'm doing continuous lines, like also the silhouette now, the volume here. And now I'm cutting the rear wheel with the same approach on the lines. And now I will add this wheel arch area because I really like this idea here. And then we have the diffuser. Let me speed up a little bit here. Like I will not go into much details because I don't want to redo the whole sketch to show you my point. The wheels are here. And I think using the template helps you to make a nice stance and the proportions of the car. But the idea is all yours, and that's the beauty of the templates. For beginners, for learning car design sketching, it's nice to have those templates for guiding you on the correct proportions and perspective, because it's not easy to nail everything at once. It's better to get used to by practicing correctly. So thank you for sending your work by using my templates. All right, so now I'm gonna make the sketch less visible just to be sure that I put all the important lines from your design. Like here, I want to mention something. So I'm going to put this one as well, the wheel arch here, and we have sort of the vision. Okay, this is more or less your sketch without the shading. So it is very clean, and you can do the same. Like after you did the dirty version, which is way more creative most of the time, you can put a new sheet of paper to make the clean version. And now we can focus on showing the surfaces and the volumes in a better way. What I mean by that is, if we go back here, I see a shadow. So it gives me the idea of the surfaces going this way. And then here I see the section going outside. So it would be catching the light, but here it's even darker. So it is not possible. Like if the surface is going like this shading tells me that it's going even more negative, but here it's more positive. So it is quite confusing. And overall, you don't need to make that much darkness. What I would recommend more, you can follow where the surface is going. For example, a very simple way would be, if this section is like this here, I could maybe put shading like this. This is not to show that there is a shadow. This is showing that the surface is that direction. So on the other side, I would do also this surface like that. Focusing on my one point a bit darker and then getting lighter. And this already shows me what's happening with this surface here. So here also, I'm not totally sure how it is. Maybe it was more flat here, and then it started to be more angled. And then here, maybe this positive became more flat here. And I don't know, I'm not sure. So this is one way of shading. If you do it all around the car for each surface, for example, for the side, it would be already showing me the design in a better way. Another one can be here. For example, I know that it will be shadow here and here the section as well. Like this is flat, this is going more inside. So here, this area will be also shadow. So, or I can just put it like this, like a reflection, like because the surface is bending here, this bending point will get some shadows, some reflections. And I can show it this way, like that. I can also add some section lines to make it more strong. And now I see how the section happens. Like here we have the positive section. So in between somewhere it will be like that. So as you see, now I have the sections and also a little bit of reflection, and it starts to be quite nice way to show the surfaces there. Because I saw on your sketch, you also added this type of reflections. That's why I wanted to mention. We can still do the same. Here there can be a reflection area. And here also we can have a reflection. How to define these reflections is you need to observe a lot the existing cars, the other sketches. So you will have understanding of how the surface works. And then putting it to your sketches would be quite nice to do. So I hope this helps. Thank you again for sending your work. And let's jump into the next one. The last one is from Poolkit, and I will directly jump into it. I don't have information about your age, but second year transportation design gives me the level of understanding, so I will dive into it. It's nice that you do 3D, and I really like the strong idea. You have very graphical idea here. It is pretty cool, but the work feels not finished at all. So it's like a base model or like a process model during your design process. That's how I feel like. Because after this renders, what I would do if I were you on Photoshop, or you can print those and then put a paper on top to sketch over and refine the design further, go back to 3D and develop it to the next step. So what I mean is, first of all, I cannot read at all what's happening here. Like I can guess that it is like that, but adding some transparency, some base interior would help me to understand the balance, the proportional balance, but also the surfaces and the volumes, what's happening here. So it is important to not put totally black, not even like no reflections type of material. And the other thing is things are way too sharp. Like if you're doing a Cybertruck, okay, but other than that, there is almost no car with that flat lines around. And it might even feel a bit of negative. Like this one can be flat. Like it might be even an interesting idea. Okay, like this very flat cut here, it might work. But when you try to do everything that flat, it becomes a little bit too much like a paper car. Like here, it even feels a bit of negative rather than flat. So to avoid this negative feeling, you can add a little bit of positive curve here. And then you have many unrefined areas. So you can decide where does this go. Like if you have a flat line here, it can be like this. And then you can feel the surface in between. Same thing on the front, and the line continuity is my next point. Like if this line is going straight, as you see, it doesn't even cut to this corner, like it's missing the corner. So I would move this corner up or the line to this, so between different lines you would add some better connection. Especially if it's that close, it looks like a mistake. If it was obviously separate, then maybe okay, but when it's very close, but like by a couple millimeters you missed it, it looks like a mistake. And the last thing from this view, or last couple of things, is this total flat surface looks way too primary. Like, I don't know if primary is the right way to say, but it looks too simple. Let's put it this way. I'm not saying everywhere you feel simple, fill it with something, but on this type of off-road vehicle, like your rugged wheels and so on, here I would expect some sort of design elements to make this surface stronger. Like you can add maybe some volumes like that, you know, like a hood to add some more breaking points. So this way it would be also more durable. And also it would become more interesting if you want to add details and so on as an off-road vehicle. And the last thing is this angle here. It's like the teeth going out from the mouth, and also from the side view I can see that. But we need the opposite on an off-road vehicle. We need an approach angle. Like your approach angle is this much, but if there's a bigger rock, it's better to keep it this way, so your approach angle would be way bigger. So instead of sticking them out, it's better if you can make them somehow parallel to the approach angle. You can still keep them as a design element, but it's better to keep them more supportive to your idea. So overall, it's nice that you are working on 3D, but mix it with 2D, mix it with your ideas rather than focusing like completely into 3D model. Your goal is to make a nice design and show your ideas in the best way. This one feels a bit not finished, and I hope this helps. And you who are watching right now, thank you so much for watching until here. I'm glad that you sticked around. I'm sure you learned some things. As I said, for getting into deeper level of learning, you can check out my courses at my website, berkaplan.com. And even without Black Friday, the course is worth definitely more than what you pay for them. I'm confident because I got a lot of feedback from students, from professionals, and that's why I'm very confident with them. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.